Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I trust you've all enjoyed the international break just as much as I have. I haven't. But anyway, we are back, and of course we are going to be taking on Millwall this weekend. I was going to do this preview a little bit earlier. I would have liked to have done it maybe yesterday, but I thought, given that we've had a little bit of a while waiting for this with the international break, and we've got suspensions and injuries, I thought I'll hold out until the pre-match presser, which I've just watched now, and it's just taken place. I thought I'd do it after this, or after the presser, because I could easily make presumptions about A, B and C and then get totally contradicted a few hours later by the pre-match presser. So I've waited and I'll give you a bit of context with everything now. So, of course, we're taking on Millwall this weekend. As I say every preview, it's going to be difficult, particularly Millwall, one of the most informed teams in the league. They're unbeaten in 7, and within those 7, they've beaten Burnley, Leeds, and they're looking incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And we are probably meeting them at the worst possible time. Of course, going away from home anyway is difficult, although our away record is relatively impressive. We do go away and we make ourselves somewhat difficult to beat, don't we? Sometimes. And we've got an absolute mountain of, suspensions, injuries to contest with, and we just have such little strength in depth in certain areas where I have sat here a good 10-15 minutes before this video trying to do my sort of preferred or predicted starting 11, and I've just came up with about 8 or 9 absolutely horrific lineups because I just don't know what the hell to do in certain situations. But what I've tried to do is try and sort of glean little things from Rodgers' pre-match presser, just try and predict what he's thinking. He's given us updates on injuries first and foremost. Of course, basically the predictable has happened. We predicted that Alan Brown, he's going to be out for, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, exactly the same as Mundle. Brown it's a fracture, so it's a light break on a leg. He didn't give too much detail, but he said he's going to be out for about 6 to 8 weeks. Same with Mundle, but it's a hamstring injury, so he's out as well. Of course, we've got the suspensions of Roberts, Job, and Hume. And yes, we've got a lot to contend with. Although we do have Alessi, he has returned, although that isn't really the area we need someone to return in, for the time being anyway. However, when asked if he was going to go to a more defensive unit in this game, he said no. But then when he was asked by Nick Barnes if he might go to a back 3, he kind of went silent and then smiled and had a bit of a giggle, and he was like, I don't know, maybe you'll have to wait until the whistle, you have to wait until Saturday type thing. So I don't know whether that was just, a back 3 to him. That might well be possible, and that's what I sort of gleaned from it. However, a back 3 to him might not be as defensive as it sounds. He might go for 3 centre-backs, and then whoever is on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the wing-back situation will be giving us our entire width. And that's the way I've tried to look at it, because if you have a look at the options we have on the right-hand side, for right-back anyway, because obviously Hume's he's suspended, all we've got really there to stick in instead of him, because of course the likes of Huggins is injured. I know Alessi can play out wide, but usually he's a left-back. Sirkin, I wouldn't want to stick him on the right-hand side because he's the most left-footed player on the planet, and also probably one of the best, if not the best, left-back in the league at the moment, so I wouldn't want to chuck him over to the other side just for the sake of it. So all we've really got is Luke O'Nien, who has played at right-back in the past, and I'd probably be somewhat comfortable. But if we did a back 3, maybe, of Alessi, Ballard and Mepham, and then O'Nien on one side on the right wing-back position, and then Sirkin, because I know O'Nien, he's not someone who's going to be bombarding that right-hand side, but he's comfortable, he's very good on the ball, technically gifted, so I'd feel sound over there, and then Sirkin on the other side. Now this is where it gets complicated, because in the centre, all we really have is Chris Rigg and Dan Neil. He was asked about Alexic, who's been sat on the bench for weeks on end, but against 17, 18, whatever he is, and he's not ready, apparently. Of course, there's been this big language barrier and all, and what have you, but Rodgers, when asked, he did say he's very close, albeit maybe not this weekend. So for me, that just says, no, he's going to be on the bench again. I'd be very, very surprised if Alexis was handed his full team debut this weekend. I don't think that's going to happen personally. So you can kind of rule that one out for the time being. So I would go with Rigg and Dan Neil in the middle. Of course, you've got Samid in the middle, who's still injured. But I believe it's around December's time, where he should be coming back. So those are only 2 real centre mids we have. And then out wide, I keep on screaming, I don't want to see Wilson Isidore pulled from that striking position to go out wide. But we don't have anyone else. The only other wingers we have on one side, I'd like to see Watson on the left-hand side, because that's his position. But Isidore, he's a winger as well. and his preference is left-hand side as well. So he's trying to accommodate those. And then we have absolutely no one on that right-hand side. We've seen Al-Shish and Abdullah Bar were withdrawn from the youth squad, so they will probably make some kind of an impact somewhere. We've got Roosing as well. I'm not too sure what the situation is with Roosing. We barely see him anymore, do we? I can't remember whether he's injured. I don't think he is, but we don't really see him. Maybe Roosing will get something somewhere. I don't know. But I would probably think, I know people argue that Alexic has been on the bench for weeks, or pretty much for the majority of the season so far, hasn't got a look in. He's one who's been around the first team the most. But with Al-Shish and Abdullah Bar, as much as, Abdullah Bar I don't particularly rate. I know we can come up with a moment of magic, but 9 times out of 10 he's horrific. Al-Shish, I think he was somewhat overrated last season, but I did expect him to be around the first team this season, and he hasn't. And I don't think Rodgers, or at least Rodgers doesn't strike me as someone who just drops someone or kind of freezes them out for the sake of it. I believe there was a bit of a mindset issue, or maybe an attitude issue with Al-Shish and Abdullah Bar, but he said in this pre-match presser that they've been training well, the attitude and the mindset seems to be correct. So you never know, we might see a start for Al-Shish, we might see a start for Abdullah Bar. Al-Shish for me, and I said this last season when we saw him play, I believe that he plays well when it sort of backs against the wall. When someone's injured and he comes on for the last sort of 20 minutes or something, he has a point to prove, then he'll look fantastic and everyone's screaming like, okay, he needs to start. And then he starts and he's piss poor. That's generally what I found with Adil Al-Shish. He needs something to be fighting for, and this could be a perfect opportunity for him to come in, be it coming in off the right-hand side, or if you want to play him behind a striker. I don't know. I would probably prefer Al-Shish to Abdullah Bar, 100%. He has that little bit of tenacity and physicality as well, which you're going to get against Millwall. Abdullah Bar doesn't do that. He, a breeze, a gust of wind knocks that lad over. So I probably prefer Adil to be in there. And up top, if we do need to force Wilson Isidore onto the wing, then it's going to have to be Mayenda. And I know that Rodgers is a big fan of Mayenda, and rightly so, to a degree. So he probably will go up top. But, like I say, I think maybe Isidore on the right-hand side and Watson on the left, because it'll be a good opportunity for Watson. I think on the right-hand side, if you stick Watson there, you may as well have no one there at all, which isn't being totally unfair to him. It's just his thing and his play and his threat is coming in off the left-hand side. And when we did start him on the right, he just looked like a lost sheep. And that's me just being brutally honest. So, like I said, usually I give you, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So it is one here. So this is my sort of one of the predicted 11s, I guess. So there was this, where, of course, we got Pato in goal. It was mentioned that Pato will be returning this weekend, so I expect him between the sticks. Then Alessi, Mepham and Ballard. Whether that'll happen again, I don't know. This is me just messing around. Cirkin on the left-hand side, 09 on the right, Neil and Rigg in the middle, Watson, Mayenda and Eastor, and any of those front three can sort of chop and change. But Cirkin and 09 would be the only ones providing width. And because we just don't have anything else, I'm trying to think. I have another one which is our sort of usual formation, but Cirkin, Mepham, Ballard and 09, Neil and Rigg in the middle, then Al-Shish down, or at least as the sort of 10 role, and he could fall back on the defensive unit. Eastor on one side, which again, I don't want to see him on the wing, but we have 0 options here. Watson on the other side and Mayenda. Up top, Eastor and Watson could chop and change as well. They could rotate. But again, this is just one or two sort of examples of many that I've been playing around with all morning, and I just can't sit on anything. I think it's going to be a very interesting game regardless. But yeah, like I said, Millwall, they're flying at the moment, going to be difficult. Rodgers seems like he's not taking comfort in, we're just going to sit back and defend. He doesn't want to do that. But like I said, he did give us that sort of little smirk when asked about playing a back three. So it's what you want to take from it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether I'm just overthinking things that he's saying, but I would not be surprised if we saw a back three. And we might have an Al-Shish start. We might have an Abdullah Bar start. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But again, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm really struggling to put something together, and I'm very grateful that I'm not in Rodgers Labrisse's shoes this weekend, because it's a nightmare trying to put round pegs and square holes type thing, and that is what it is at the moment, and it's a difficult time. But once these suspensions and injuries come back around, then we should be okay. But we'll see. But in terms of my prediction for this game, I think I don't want to be negative. Rodgers did say in the pre-match presser that, and again, it's something that I've alluded to over the last few reviews, even though we haven't been losing, I have said that there's been a pattern in our play, somewhat negative and more cautious in our defensive work and a little bit all over the place, and we've kind of lost the sort of ruthlessness that we saw in the opening few games where the press was really there, and it's vanishing and we're almost starting on the back foot, and our starts to games are really, really poor regardless of whether we win, lose or draw. I've been saying that regardless. And Rodgers did say that, it's apparently this morning he's done a big presentation to the lads, and there's going to be another one later on this afternoon. And basically, he said that with their style of play or his system, essentially he was saying that there's about 3 or 4 different layers to it, but he's felt like he's had to go back to the first sort of 1 or 2 layers to really brush up on it and master that, if that makes sense. It was kind of along those lines anyway. So I think that does play into what I have been saying. They do need to go back to square one and really harness that again and get used to and get back to grips with the basics of what was so impressive at the earlier signs of this season. But in terms of my predictions, getting on to that, again, don't want to be negative, but I think this is probably going to be the first time this season that I am actually going to predict defeat. I can see, as much as I know Rodgers says that he doesn't want to sit back and defend, I think that might be the case. I think a lot of the players will be very wary that we have been hit quite hard, and they even if they're told to do otherwise, I think they almost will naturally try and be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more wary and cautious, and they'll try and sit back. And I think we'll probably absorb a hell of a lot of pressure from this strong Millwall side, but I think we'll end up caving, and it'll be 1 or 2-0 to Millwall. Which again, I hope I'm wrong, but that just is my prediction. And we're unbeaten in a lot of games as well. But still Millwall looking better in terms of their patterns of play at the moment. But again, it'll be interesting. It's a big challenge. It's still very early doors. We've got a really tough string of games coming up, and after these 3 games, I think we might be able to. We've got lost Sheffield United and what have you, West Brom. We've got some really tough teams coming up, and then we can really gauge where we are at the moment. I think it's quite an unpredictable league. It always is anyway, but there's 46 games to be played. Of course, at the moment, being top of the league, it's great. But these are the real testing times, regardless of whether you've got suspensions, injuries, and what have you. But we'll see. Anyway, let me know what your predictions are down below. Your predicted and preferred 11s and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm really interested to see. But we are back. If you have enjoyed, hit the like button for me and subscribe if you're new. There's so many of you guys that are watching regularly and you're still not subscribed. Keep that subscriber count rising. It really does put a smile on my face and it motivates me to continue making out these videos. But either way, take care, stay jammy. How are the lads?